All right, guys, what's up? How's it going? Welcome to the Bending Ballistic Show. We have Boom Country Hydrographics with us, and Sean from Martinette Metalworks with us, and we'll let them introduce themselves as we have Jason playing in the background. So whoever wants to go first can go first, and we can go from there.
I'm Ryan Rafferty. I'm Boom Country Hydrographics. I take old rusty guns and make them pretty. I like to shoot competitions. I shoot team competitions with my buddy Derek Streeter of Northwest Guns, and I shoot single competitions as well. I am shooting a pristine action with a 243 fast twist barrel with a match action or match chambering, not actually improved like you would think.
There you go.
Very nice. And myself, I am Sean Martinette of Martinette Metalworks. It's a little company I started making accessories geared towards precision shooters. As well, I do a bit of competitive shooting. And actually, this past couple weekends ago, I went through a Rifleman Team Challenge as a range officer. So got a little bit on the other side from more of a range officer perspective rather than a competitor. Oh,
Alicia's here with
my
us.
wife.
Oh, that's your wife. Hi, Alicia.
Hello.
John's here. MC,
Hey,
you're
John.
here. That's all we see right now, right off the top of the bat. But how was that experience at the Rifleman Team Challenge? I read some good stuff on it, but I hadn't really heard firsthand experience from anybody that was there.
Yeah, so a Rifleman Team Challenge, or RTC, is a little bit different than a standard PRS match. The Precision Rifle Series, we very much have the same PRS rules set here in Canada as in the US. So typically it's known distance targets, typically from 300 to 1,400 yards. So that's a PRS match, and it's usually a bunch of stages lined up, whereas this one was more of a Rifleman Team Challenge. It's a field match. So it's actually a team match where most of the targets are not known. You have to find them, range them, and then engage. And you're doing it on the clock with a partner. So it adds a little bit of complexity because then you have to add communication and now ranging and verifying that target.
Gotcha.
So it's
So it's like an unknown distance sniper challenge type match.
Very much, yeah. It was like undulating fields and some nice tree cover and whatnot. There was different stages. Like there was a car, for example, where you had a driver and a passenger, and you had to engage both of them, and then you had to take out the engine block, which was just, of course, steel targets in there. But it was pretty cool that they set up a car at 600 yards that you could pop a couple rounds off at. So,
Oh yeah, now Ryan. Have you done the steel challenges like that, where it's unknown distance team
The
challenges?
unknown we're just going to break into this coming year because of the physical ability of some of them. I've decided that I started a couple weeks ago, and I'm going to drop some weight, and we're going to give them a whirl again. I have done one in the past, but it was known distances. It was the Vortex challenge down in Wyoming, and then they bailed right when COVID hit. And the last one we went to was the Night Force Extreme in Wyoming, and that was that was out to 800 to 2,200 yards.
Oh yeah, I've got a good buddy that works for Night Force now. I didn't realize that he left Daniel Defense and started working at Night Force until I texted him the other night, and he's like, "Oh, I'm at Night Force now. I'm not even at Daniel Defense anymore." I was like, "Well, this escalated quickly." But those unknown distance matches, I love them. Now, so like it takes a whole. Hootie Who is here. He's saying 2,200 Chewy. We got to get him up to the range here. I keep telling him he needs to come up and shoot it. That's why I uploaded all those shorts today where I could tease him with the range that I have.
Yeah, next year when we go back to that really long range one, we're definitely going to do one guy with a small caliber, just so we can clean our points, like, because we're PRS shooters, all right? So we're going to clean our points, but we're also ELR shooters. Derek is headed to the King of 1 Mile. I gave up my spot due to family reasons this year. I wish I should have went, because now my schedule has cleaned up and I could have made it, and I'm kind of kicking myself, but I will earn my spot next year as everybody else does. But we went down and we were doing pretty well as a team until we started having some firearm problems, but we've learned our lessons on 2-day matches of what you got to check, what you don't have to check. I've only ever shot 1-day matches until this last one, and it was a total eye-opener for what bolts need to be checked, what things need to be looked at, you know. So,
Right.
really interesting.
Now, Sean, you've done a bunch of 2-day matches, haven't you? Or RO'd at a bunch of 2-day matches, or shot a bunch of them?
Yeah, I've shot in a few PRS 2-day matches, as well as done some ROing at them. That's been the majority of the matches that I've attended. Some CRPS matches as well, which is just the Canadian Rimfire Precision Series, so just a rimfire variant of that. So it's the same deal, and just in rimfire form, so kind of shortened up to about 300 to 400 yards at most, typically. But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
How does, like, let's say I wanted to come to one of the Canadian rimfire matches, or Ryan and I wanted to squad up together to like the Unknown Distance Rifleman's Challenge or something like that. How hard is that for somebody from the US going up there? Like, do we have to have an importer, like, so PPG, like, will we have to have them technically import our firearms for us, or do you know?
At least for the way that it works here, because I've flown with firearms previously, and all you really need to do is at the airport, you make a declaration. I think if you're changing borders, you might want to do it ahead of time. But basically, you just make a declaration and you just say, I'm taking this rifle with this many rounds. There is a limitation in terms of ammunition transport. I think it's 5 kilograms of loaded ammunition, and they must be stored in a plastic case. There's some regulations according to ammunition and just firearm storage and such. And other than that, it's just basically a form you fill out, and then you can fly. And we did have at one point a stewardess came up to us, and she was really concerned, and she had a piece of paper, and she's like, I'm made to understand you have a gun on you. I'm like, yeah, it's in the storage, it's in the cargo hold, like it's down there, don't worry about it. And she's like, oh, okay, I thought you had it on you. And I'm like, no, why? No, we don't. So other than that, like just the odd stewardess that had a little bit of a just heightened awareness of it, it wasn't an issue. It's just basically forms and just flying from there.
Now, do we have to get like a so like when I've been to Australia and stuff like that, we had to get a visa. Is it the same way with Canada, or is it you just have to have a passport? Do you know?
I think with the way that these matches work is typically there's a certificate that is provided by the match director. And that certificate is basically stating you have this match, you're going to this match in this location, and this is the reason you're going there. And usually you have to provide that as well with your stated notice for firearm transfer. So that way you have a match and you have the firearm transfer and they go together. So it's kind of, it works that way.
We would need a passport to go up as well.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. A passport too.
Passport, and then whatever their regulations are. I don't know. Are they still requiring COVID shots to come across?
Oh, yeah. I guess that whole thing too. Yeah. So there's, I guess, a lot more red tape. It sounds like the more and more we talk about this, I'm like, oh, it's just a form. And it's like, nope, there's this. And then there's this. It
used to be.
Yeah.
Back in the day. Yeah. I remember my buddies all hunted up there back in the day, and we're 4 hours from the border. So yeah, super easy for us to go up to Canada. You know, we used to hang out up there as kids, 18, 19, 20, and love the country, just, but now with all the red tape, don't get up there as much as we used to.
So MC says with 400 yards with the rimfire is interesting. I may have to look into courses of fire and target arrangements. We have a 400-yard range available. So, little unknown story for you, MC. If you get on the National Rifle League Association page and sign up as a match director, you only have to have 325 yards available to do 22 long rifle NRL matches. Just so you know.
Nice.
We got E-Rock Outdoors with us tonight. I've never met E-Rock. He's one of my newer subs. I've never really talked to him. But welcome, E-Rock. Yeah, like I said, I think we talked about this last time, but I might have forgotten a little bit of it. But MC is right too. With the U.S. have enhancing our new driver's license, we can still drive across the border. But then you still have to go through all that crap.
All the other rigmarole, yeah. We have the same thing in enhanced driver's license as well, which works very much the same when you're just driving.
Okay. Now, do you guys, when you come here, so like for us to come there, like we have to have a reason to be there. Like we can't just come to come. Is it kind of the same thing there, or can y'all just kind of like leave Canada and come down here if you want to just check through Border Patrol?
If I'm not bringing a gun, then yeah, I can just, it's very much just, I think there's like different time frames, like 3-day, 7-day, depending on what you're staying. There's allotted times that you're allowed. But yeah, as long as I'm not bringing a rifle, I'm pretty sure I can just head on down to the border. Like the last time was, it's been 15 years probably since I've been down to the States. It's been a long time. But yeah, at that time it was just a matter of just crossing, and we stayed a few days and then came back. So
I'm going to be in contact with you about something happening very soon that you might want to come down to the United States for. And you don't even have to bring a firearm if you don't want to.
Okay.
Because I've got enough. Just food for thought.
Well, that's awesome. And they're probably a lot cooler than the ones that I have anyways. So,
well, see, that's the weird thing. Like the things that are highly regulated there are not really regulated here. And the things that are really regulated here aren't really regulated there, like Sbrs.
That's true, yeah.
So
yeah, it's a kind of a strange trade-off.
Gotcha. Well, I appreciate you stopping in, E-Rock. I appreciate that. So, yeah, like the things that are highly regulated there and not here are two totally different animals. But so how are things going with the business side of things? Like, are things picking up over there? Like,
they've picked up too much, honestly. I haven't been at the shop for about a month, so my production is backlogged, and I have little to no inventory now because I've sold out of most things. So yeah, it's going well, but I don't have access to machines for the next little while. So I'm trying to outsource production to a buddy right now, but he's so busy that it's like he doesn't even really have time. So I'm trying to figure out my next production schedule. But so yeah, it's been going well, but now it's kind of slowing down because now I have to catch up with my restocking of the inventory and whatnot. That's the thing is I try and plan ahead, and I planned ahead last year, quote unquote, and it was like, I'm like, oh, I only need 100 of these, and I'm like, I should have made 500, maybe even 1,000. I'm like, yeah,
because right after you were on the channel here, I know a bunch of people went over and ordered a bunch of stuff from you.
And a bunch of people were trying, and they're like, I want this thing, and I'm like, I'm sorry, it's sold out.
Yeah.
I would love to sell it to you, but it's sold out.
Well, then when it comes back in stock, I'm going to have to make sure to get my chance at it, because I had a shoot coming up, so I couldn't spend any money.
That's fair, yeah. Yeah, it seems like I have bursts of like 1 or 2 months, and it's like everything goes, and then I just, it's got to get better about my stock levels, but it's, I guess, a good problem to have.
Oh, so hooty hoo. He had to dig deep into the SBR pistol PDW regulations today. And he's saying,
with their measurement system, it's going to be a mess.
And he's saying, what a crop. Do what? What were you saying, Sean?
Are they changing the rules for the SBRs?
No, they haven't changed the rules, but so what they're doing August 20th, so next week, or the week after, whatever, the new frame and receiver rule goes into effect, which has always been a rule that 80% once it's milled out, it's a firearm. But there was a loophole in the caveat in it of, well, if I buy an 80% and I buy a jig, I've manufactured my own firearm. But the problem comes into is when you start taking things to FFLs and you want to sell it to the FFL, now we have to become the manufacturer of it. And so now they're forcing all these 80% companies to serialize things, and they're calling it the ghost gun ban, quote unquote. But there's also a new pistol brace rule that's supposed to be coming out. And I'm not going to get extremely political because I don't like getting into the politics of things. But what they're saying is that people are circumventing the SBR tax stamp. Because like here we have a tax stamp in order to have SBRs or NFA items. Now, do you guys have a tax stamp?
No, it's a little bit different, just a non-restricted or restricted or prohibited system, not a stamp system.
Okay, so we have a tax stamp system, and what the ATF is saying is that they are going to allow people to have SBRs without paying for the tax stamp because they're getting rid of the pistol brace law, or the pistol brace rule is going into a point system. And unless you literally have just a bare naked pistol AR, like the weight alone of it is going to null and void it. And then also any accessories, so like a flashlight, hand stop up front, red dot, a scope, whatever have you, the weight is going to circumvent it too, and you're going to be eliminated from that. So what they're saying is that they're going to allow people to have a free tax stamp, free, but we all know that nothing that this country does for free for anybody is truly free, because we're all going to be circumvented and shafted with it of having to pay for this over the next 50 years. I mean, it's like all these stimulus checks. I don't want to get on a political rant because that's not what this channel is about. But yeah, so they're changing it, and it's literally as Hootie Who says, it's a crock and it's ridiculous. But it's all about the government having control. And then you also have states like Illinois, where John is, that the NFA, like it's non-existent there. Like you can't have suppressors, SBRs, short-barreled shotguns, none of that. Like you can't have it. So if John's got a braced AR, that's going to be circumvented into this whole new pistol brace rule, where now John can't have it, so John's going to have to sell it to somebody in an NFA state, and then they're going to have to turn around and go through the entire system of it, or he's going to have to put a 14.5-inch pinned and welded barrel.
Wow.
It's a huge thing.
Yeah.
E-Rock Outdoors says, I have a enhanced deal. Department of Energy required it to acquire a badge for certain facilities. It's used to get through land border crossing Mexico, Canada without passport or NAFTA. Oh, I didn't know that. Hootie says he shot his 338 Lapua suppressed today. Nice.
Now we're talking, Hootie. Love my 338 Edge.
I just so you mentioned about the whole SBR thing, so I wanted to mention a little bit of fun that we're going through here. I think it's August 18th or 19th. There will be no more importation of handguns into Canada. They're freezing all imports of handguns. So there was I talked about that Bill C-21 the last time, and now they're just going the extra step and just freezing any imports going forward after, I think it's the 18th of this month. So anybody that wants a pistol now in Canada has got to get it now, or you're never going to get it.
See, and that's the bad part about all of it is, like, here in like the US, they're trying to put a ban on importation, and now I don't know if you watch any of like the politics of things that go on here, like any of the bills that get passed here, like either we follow you guys or you guys follow us, but now they're trying to pass HR 1808, which is an assault weapons ban. So it's basically going to reinstate the Clinton ban for all semi-auto firearms. But I don't know, man, like so much stuff is going crazy, and working in the firearms industry like I do, yourself does, Ryan does also, it's like, what in the world? I mean, I literally had a conversation with somebody yesterday, and he was talking about how this new frame and receiver rule is, and this, that, and the third, and that you're going to have to do background checks on parts and everything. And I was like, have you read what the rule change is? And he says, yeah, I've read it, and I had to do a background check in, I forget what state he said. I think he was in like New Jersey or something like that to get a pistol or a trigger for a pistol. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not federal. That's state.
That's state. Yeah, that's New Jersey alone.
Yeah. And so it just, some of the stuff just doesn't make sense that they're doing. And like with the HR 1808, like we're not addressing the problems that we have in this country based solely upon the premise of what's going on around here. We're only addressing temporary solutions to major issues. Like mental health is a big issue in this country, and they don't want to do anything for it.
Yeah. As is it in this country too. Absolutely. And that's very much the way that they're dealing with the firearm laws here. It's 80 to 90% of the firearms are smuggled illegally from the US, but they're going after the law-abiding citizens and importation of legal firearms. So it's, what are they really doing? Not a whole lot, just people pleasing right now.
I don't, yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. Go ahead, Ryan.
Oh, kind of get us back on track of the gun stuff and shoots. Sean, are you bringing your company down to SHOT Show this year?
Probably not. I'm too small of a shop. It's just me. I can't really afford to go down to SHOT Show. So
Gotcha.
maybe one year as just being able to walk through, because I've always, for years, I've looked at SHOT Show and I'm like, I want to go there one day. It just looks so amazing. But it won't be as a booth, probably just hopefully one day as somebody that can actually walk through there.
Gotcha. We're going to be down there this year. That's why I thought I'd ask.
Okay. Awesome.
But yeah, I mean, it's just some crazy stuff. I'm working on setting up a match currently. I'm not going to release details on the live, but there's a match that I'm currently setting up currently, and it's going to be pretty fun for everybody. I've got some pretty big guys that are going to come, like some of the guys that I know both on the professional world and social world, so it's going to be pretty fun. Pretty excited about it, to be brutally honest with you.
Very nice.
Some pretty big names will be there, and hopefully these two right here in this chat will be there too. So
do my best. We'll see what we got.
Yeah.
Ryan's got the dates, and I'll give you the dates after the live and have you look into it. So, and like I said, you don't have to bring firearms. I got plenty.
Sounds good.
I can put you on a gas rifle since you can't shoot yours.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, now, do you have any U.S. matches planned this year that you're going to RO or anything?
Myself? No, I don't. I've really only dealt with a lot of the Canadian matches. I don't travel too much, so a lot of the stuff that I've been doing has been local to me, and it's unfortunate because where I'm located in Manitoba, it's one of the least populated for some of these matches. Some of the bigger provinces like Ontario, BC, stuff like that, there's a lot more matches out that way. So I did the first year I went to Ontario for one of the biggest PRS matches, Meaford Long Range Steel Challenge. That was the first one that I actually attended. But other than that, I don't know. it's hard for me to get out, and I don't travel that much, so it's even a stretch sometimes for a couple-hour drive for me, honestly. I'm very much a homebody, and it's like if I can be on the machine working, I just want to bury my head in that and just keep on.
I mean, that comes with the sense of being a small business owner too. Like, you've got that responsibility at the end of the day that my business won't survive if I'm not here working my business.
Unfortunately, yeah.
As I understand that, being a lone Cerakoter too. My son is starting to be able to fill in, but still not 100% yet. So if I've got work, sometimes I got to skip a match to get the work done so I can stay alive that way. And it's not what puts the bread on the table, but it is what makes sure I can go have fun. I can build a new toy, all that good stuff, you know. And you're not from me in the end. So I see, Sean, you said you're in Manitoba, so we've been up there a lot, and maybe have to make my way up there for a match someday.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is that Rifleman Team Challenge. I mean, a couple U.S. teams did back out this year because I think there was that you needed to get the whole needle thing. But hopefully next year there'll be some changes, and looking forward to get a few more teams out because it would be great to have some U.S. shooters show up because I shot against some in the Meaford long range, and so that was like, those were some of the best shooters out there. Like, I'm pretty sure John Pinch was there, and like some of the top PRS guys, like back when I didn't know anything about that, and I just watched some of these people shoot, and it was amazing. Like, just looking at a good shooter engage a stage, there's something to be learned there just by watching them.
Yeah, I mean, you get guys now like Robert Brantley, Allison Zane, and watch those two just go head to head at a match. It's something to watch. I've shot matches with Robert and Allison, and watching both of them just move through a stage, despite how good I am, they're so much better.
Isn't Allison in France right now with Team US?
Yeah, she's in France. Have you followed any of that, Sean?
The international PRS? Is that yeah, I was following a bit of that as well. Yeah.
Now, did y'all have a team go, or?
I think there was some guys from, I think, MDT. MDT sent up a team. I think Dave Guriani or something, and there's a couple of guys that ended up going from Canada.
Gotcha. I didn't know if y'all had a team that went or not.
I didn't make it.
Yeah, Allison was up there. I don't know if Robert went this year or not, but if you ever get a chance, Sean, to watch Robert Brantley shoot a match, go and watch him shoot a match. And he's so humble about it because he's just like, whatever. So
that's awesome.
David Wilcott says, I'm jealous of people with milling machines.
Me too. I rent my machine time, so I wish I had a mill.
I've been looking for a lathe for a while, and I'm still torn whether I want to buy one or not, with everything coming out that is so easy pre-fit wise and everything being ready to go. But I still like being able to do all my own work.
A lathe is very handy for that work. Yeah,
it's nice having access to a lathe. Like, I won't lie to you, it is nice having access to a lathe. But more often than not, I'm just as happy getting a pre-fit than I am getting something from a lathe or cutting something on a lathe. Yeah, there's that rewarding aspect of it, that, hey, I cut that. But there's also the aspect of
the time it takes.
Yeah.
To make it right.
I mean, and that's what I'm saying. Like, when I can buy a pre-fit, just use for an example, a pre-fit Savage barrel, and throw a barrel on and headspace it in 15 minutes versus 15 hours of cutting a barrel.
Exactly. That I've got a guy an hour and a half from me that makes some amazing barrels too, and I called him the other day, and it was at my door the next morning.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I'm nowhere near that fast.
He has them all pre-done.
Oh,
He pre-cuts a lot of them in certain calibers.
gotcha.
He'll pre-cut one or two, and when he sells one, then he'll pre-cut the next one or whatever.
Gotcha.
Yeah, there's something to be said for opting for on a REM 700 platform, the remage style with the barrel nut. And that way you can just thread on a new barrel when you're ready instead of doing the chambering, head spacing, all that jazz. And yeah, knocking the shoulder back. It definitely takes a lot less time. And back when I worked with PGW, that's one thing we for sure did, is opted for a more modular barrel system, because it just saves time, and people can then just swap to 223 if they want. 6.5, 223, 308, whatever you want.
Yeah,
y'all are known for the
pristine action, and I'm doing that as well.
Very nice. Yeah, it's nice to just swap down for a train around, or just, I mean, I guess you could just have a 22 rifle, very similar platform.
I have a lot of prairie dogs to shoot, so the 223 comes in handy.
Very nice. Yeah.
Now you're working on a chassis right now, aren't you, Sean? I heard you mentioning that the other day.
I had some. There was a chassis that I worked on, and there has been stuff in the background. It's not really. It's kind of on the bench right now. I haven't put a lot of development time into it since, because it was a neat platform, but I just felt that, like, even above me right now, the MDT ACC. There's so many companies now that just make amazing chassis, and I started buying a bunch of different ones. There's a newer company, Gray Birch. They have the Foundation. It's an aluminum modular chassis, and I started playing with some of those ideas, but I really haven't solidified anything yet and been satisfied enough to be like, this is something that I can release. But maybe one day.
So David Wilcott is trying to start some drama with us, asking, is a 30 carbine a big pistol round or a small rifle round? And it's neither, because it's a minigun round.
Was also made in lever action, but
it started as a minigun. So neither, David Wilcott. It's a minigun round, just like the 5.7. Even though it's technically a rifle round now, since it got semi-spec. Right. But that's another day. But have you checked out the new 7mm PRC? Sean, Ryan, either one of you?
The 300 PRC.
No,
played around with the 300, but not the 7.
Oh, yeah. That thing looks sweet.
We just got a buddy's 6.5 PRC dialed in, and that thing is a shooter.
There's something about those PRCs.
My brother-in-law just called me and said he had a 300 PRC for me to dial in, because he doesn't do any of his own work. Of course, it comes over here. So that will all be loaded over here on the stuff that you see behind me. But yeah, so we'll be playing with that one, but I have not played with it yet.
Gotcha. I'm excited to maybe get a barrel cut for a 7mm PRC. I'm not going to mention yet when, but it is a medium action, and the headspace is the bolt face is very similar to the 300 PRC. So, pretty excited about that. But so anything else happening in the world of Sean that we need to be on the lookout for?
Unfortunately, not as much as I'd hoped. I hope to be in production of those bag plates that I was talking about and other stuff. I can make the bags, but I can't make the plates right now. So, yeah, I'm kind of lagging behind right now. That's why I haven't been posting much either, because I'm like, I don't want to hype too much up right now, because I'm like, I got a lot that I could release, and I have a lot that I'm like, I could hype this up, but I'm like, I can't make them right now. So yeah, just trying to play it calm right now. And I just actually released a sale for 25% off. So if anybody wants to pick up anything for the summer, I'm doing a midsummer sale, 25% off my site, any remaining inventory, just to clear out some stuff and then make some room so that I can focus on the next production run.
What is that code all?
I think it's mmw25 off.
I think John posted your link. Let me see if I can't find it.
Yeah, so all sorts of things like the fancy brass weights. Ooh, those up there. Those are on my site.
I've been looking at those. I don't know. I still haven't pulled the trigger on them. I need to.
Some people are there's different things. There's the aesthetics of it. There's the if it oxidizes. There's if it gets dinged up. But honestly, mine is like it's a little bit of bling on my rifle to go with the gold bolt, and it's like if it gets dinged up, it's just a bit of weight there.
Yeah, John or David, I call it a tumbler.
As well as do I.
Yeah, I use a rotary tumbler as well, with the stainless pins.
I got mine literally at Harbor Freight and gave like $15 for it. Best $15 I ever spent. I've had to rewire a different motor onto it because the original motor was trash.
You do dry tumbling then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. When I tumble.
I opted for the stainless steel pins, and I do the wet tumbling, and I just started with that from the get-go and haven't looked up elsewhere.
I don't tumble a whole lot unless like the last 3-gun match I was at, which I've got brass catchers on the side of my gas rifle. And the last 3-gun match I was at, I ended up catching on my brass. When I got home, it was so wet and stuff like that I actually tumbled my brass to get some of the tarnish off of it. But honestly, if a rifle can't run dirty brass, it doesn't deserve clean brass.
I'm the same way.
That's fair.
If it ain't too dasty, it is just going right back in the rifle because I ain't out there to impress nobody with the color of my brass. I'm out there to impress them if I hit a plate.
Yeah, and the energy that you put into tumbling your brass too, like, I mean, if you even somebody that I reload and shoot probably 500 to 700 rounds a week, which is a lot. And I mean, you're talking, it's a lot of brass to have to be tumbling all the time. And when minutes turn to hours and hours turn to days, when you're reloading ammo, it's like, man, this is a lot.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like I at most probably 200 to 400 rounds I reload for my 6.5. So, and I don't do it often enough because I don't shoot enough anymore. So it's like I can throw them in the tumbler for 2 hours. The wet tumbler is nice because the primer pockets come out real clean after that. But honestly, it's not for a matter of the nice sheen that they come out with. It's just that they come out really nice and clean, and I can throw them in my annealer, and it's good to go. So
yeah. See, I normally anneal about every 3 or 4 reloads, so I don't anneal a whole lot. And then, like 9mm, if I get to the point where I have to start trimming 9mm, I just trash the brass, to be honest with you, because that means I'm at 10 or 12 reloads on it. And it's just time for
with the amount you shoot too, it's kind of a bit of time to anneal all the time. I opt for annealing every time just because then I have that consistent neck tension every time. And I have the AMP annealer, so it's like if I have it, might as well use it. But if I shot a lot more, I probably wouldn't opt for doing it all the time.
Yeah, I've got the easy annealer, and then when I go down to Nashville, down to Strategic Edge, they have an amp annealer down there. And so if I've got a whole lot of brass to anneal at one time, I just go down there and use their annealer. Take a sizing die with me, throw it in their Forester, and anneal it and size it while I'm there. So
yeah, and I'm working on getting an amp too that I was just flame annealing too, and I'm now needing to move to the amp because I'm up in the kinds of brass that I use, and I'm slowly moving. Even my hunting rounds are slowly moving to higher quality brass, which is harder to flame anneal.
So David, what do you mean? And is there a place to look at for beginner to reload their ammo? Like, are you meaning somebody that'll go into like step-by-step scenario of it? Because I know guys that literally their entire YouTube channel is about teaching people how to reload. They start from the basics all the way up, and they do it periodically where they'll start all the way over with new calibers and teach people how to do a new caliber. Or are you wanting to?
Is really good with that.
Yeah, Highboy 76 reloading is another really good one. But if you're looking for forums, Sniper's Hideout is a good forum.
And if you're looking for tools, Precision Reloading out of South Dakota is great. Usually has a lot of stuff in stock. And these days, anything being in stock is amazing. Powder Valley, of course. You're still going to have a hard time finding primers. With them shutting down primer sales this last year, primers are going to be minimal to non-existent or super high dollar if you do find them.
That's been my biggest struggle this year with the amount that I shoot, the amount of money I've spent on primers this year since I ran out and went through all my primers. Ugh, that hurt. That really did hurt.
I bought hard before, and I'm still paying for it. My wife is not impressed, but I know I have them, and I can afford to shoot for the next year or so. And then I had another buddy that said he jumped on the bandwagon with me, and we both bought. So he's like, I got you covered because he doesn't shoot like I do. So if I need more, I'll just call him.
Well, like Gap Grind last year when we were there, Alan and Julie and all those guys, they bought a bunch of primers from Federal. And they had small rifle match and large rifle match and stuff like that. So I bought a bunch from them, but I mean, it was still $115 a box of 1,000. It was, yeah.
Yeah. And yes, David Wolcott, the Federal shut down any outside sales to private parties for the year of 2022, the whole year. You cannot buy primers. They are just using them for actual manufacturers. They're only sending them out to manufacturers. They will fulfill the contracts they had for prior 2021 and 2020 when they had COVID and they were still taking orders. They will fill those. So the stores that are getting them are getting trickle-ins. I work at a local sporting goods store for my second job. My Boone Country Hydrographics is my third job. But yeah, so yes, they did shut down. I am an FFL and I still can't go order from Federal right now to order a pallet of primers. I can't do it. If I get lucky, I know a couple guys that import from overseas and I know those primers are good. I'm hoping to get my hands on, I don't know if I'll get a pallet, but I will definitely hurt myself again this year financially to order from those guys. So,
well, if I was going to order overseas primers, honestly, the only company I would order from would be Sailor and Beloit.
Yeah,
that's just
those ones as well, and they've been quite.
I've been using the ones that were originally the Wolf primers. They came from the same factory. They're just tag different from the importer that brings them into the U.S. But man, my SDs have never been lower.
Really?
And I've done my research. The gentleman that won the world 7 times back in the day in the late 70s, early 80s, he won like 7 times U.S. world with a 243. He was definitely using Wolf primers, and he said he never had lower SDs either.
Oh. So Mark Petrie brings up a question. I don't know if you have any experience with this round, Sean or Ryan. I have no experience with it, so I can't pretend like I know anything about it. But the 8.6 Blackout, he says it looks like a great hunting round. Eagle Run 23 is doing a lot of work with the 8.6 Blackout right now. He's linked up with Guerrilla Ammunition on that, so he's doing a lot of work with them. I don't want to avoid your question, but Eagle Run 2.3 would probably be your best bet, Mark.
He's the 8.6 blackout guy. I mean, I think it was originally designed to be that 6,800 knockdown power for the military. They're looking at that again, but they were already doing that with the not the 6.8 SPC, but they just came out with a new one that SIG was running. The
277 SIG Fury.
There you go. Yes, the 277 SIG Fury. They're looking for that 600 to 800 yard knockdown power. But who knows? Maybe it was just made for a fun round. I don't know, but I think that's what I had heard at one point in time. That was the goal.
Mark, John just posted the link to Eagle Run 2.3. I'm pretty good friends with Eagle Run over there. He's a good guy. He'll talk to you about it. He's on Instagram also under Eagle Run 2.3. Send him a message, tell him I sent you, and he's got you taken care of. So David says, is there a reason why, I'm assuming he's talking about primer cells. Is there a reason why he says he's been out of the loop living in rural Alaska?
Well, they sent out letters to any of the people that had ordered prior. And my company that I work for as my second job has ordered prior. I also have very good connections in the gun world. I have fallen into those through SHOT Show and other connections that I've made friends with over the last few years. And so I was sent the letter as well. It was just one of those things. They didn't want to keep saying they could do it when they didn't know if they could get the raw materials.
That's what a lot of it's coming down to, is raw materials. Now, are y'all having material shortages where you are, Sean, or is it more isolated to the U.S.? Because
it's absolutely shortages here too. All the material costs have gone up. Brass, aluminum, steel, everything. It's all increasing. I've seen it, and when I go to purchase material, and as well in all the products, primers at this point, we got the same information as well, that there'll be no further sales other than pre-orders that people had. So it's kind of, if you can get it, you can get it, for primers here too. So powder doesn't seem to be as bad in terms of price point here. I'm starting to see a little bit more of things like H4350 and whatnot actually coming up. It's getting snapped up pretty quickly, but the price points don't seem to be as steep as in the US at least. So maybe we're getting back to a little bit more normalcy here, but maybe not in terms of at least primers.
Gotcha. See, I hadn't seen anything like that, but the shop I'm associated with, we don't do any reloading. I'm the only reloader in there. So, and I literally reload to just shoot with, or shoot my matches with. So I don't really follow that, but CCI also sends me my primers. So, well,
that's pretty good.
So, yeah, there's that attribute of that. However, by the sounds of this, they haven't told me anything different other than they're gonna send me primers. So I don't know anything about any of that. Like I really don't. I can't speak from experience. Like we never got any of that information from any manufacturers.
Well, Federal owns them all now, so that's the biggest thing. SIG did open a primer division in their ammo plant. There is a new primer place in Texas, but it is not 100% online yet. So as soon as they get online, we'll start seeing some relief.
Yeah, I mean, it's just going to take time. I mean, with anything, like you have ammo incorporated
right now, and they don't want to release primers that aren't 100% tested.
No, and I also, like, all my brass that I buy, I only buy Peterson brass. Like, that's literally the only brass that I buy. And so, like, my 6.5 need more, my 308, everything I've got runs on small rifle primers and small pistol primers. So I don't have 15 different primers that I have to buy. Like, it's literally, or have supplied to me, it's literally 2 separate size We're two separate primers
So you're
of the
not
same
like
solid.
you're not like
Yeah,
my
I don't do this whole Magnum small rifle, Magnum large rifle. No, I just do small rifle, small pistol. Like that's all I do. And it's just to keep concentricy across the board of everything. I don't mix all this stuff. There's too much with it. Like it's like I was talking to Eagle Run 2-3 the other day. He was asking me reloading questions. See ya, Mark. Thanks for joining us. We were talking about this the other day, and he was talking about how one round was calling for a large or a small Magnum pistol or small Magnum rifle primer. And it was like, do you use Magnums? And I'm like, no, I just use a standard primer. It's going to be 50 feet slower per second. Figure out your dope. You know what I mean? Or
Right.
add a 1/10 of a grain of powder, make it a little more pressure.
With today's chronographs and stuff, you can get away with that so easy.
Yeah, add a little more pressure.
If I run out of Magnums, they're going large rifles. That's all the way there is to it.
Exactly. I mean, there's no point. So, but we're winding down on our hour, so we'll let everybody share their piece and close it out and all this good stuff. Well, I've seen solid brass shotgun shells, David. Those are starting to make their way back around, and like the 10 gauge, the 16 gauge, 14 gauge, 8 gauge. So,
Well, you can always get crazy, and cutting edge bullets has the quote unquote reloadable 22, which is really just a prime case that you have to get a new case every time and load up your powder charge for your 22. But I mean, it seems like you can almost reload anything nowadays.
well, there's a primer mixture that you can get to reload 22 cases that have been fired. You pop out the indentation where the
Okay,
stripe
yeah.
is.
That seems
So
tedious, though.
it is. Guys that reload 22 long rifle and 22 Magnum cases are interesting people. So John says, how many calibers do I use? Are you directing towards like how many calibers do I reload? Or are you directing towards how many different calibers do I use? Because that's a big question.
Yeah, totally different in both of those questions for me as well. Because
like my favorite
guys in the cupboard, but a lot of them ain't mine.
I reload 18 different calibers.
I reload 25.
Yeah, and I shoot probably 30 different calibers. How about you, Sean?
My numbers are pretty sad. I reload 1 and I shoot maybe 4.
I do a lot of rimfire stuff. I absolutely love rimfire. Like the 9mm Flowbart is like my favorite round ever. I've never divulged that information on what my favorite round is, and it's the 9mm Flowbart. I'm sure you know what that is, Sean.
That sounds very familiar, yeah.
With y'all running a lot of European cartridges, you should know what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, do a lot of 22 and 9mm here now, but a little bit of 6.5 now, a little bit of 12 gauge.
I have not, David. Have any of you guys seen a lighter made out of any big round? I have not.
Yeah, 50 cals. I actually made some bottle openers out of 50s.
The bottle openers.
Spent 50s. Yeah. So yeah, there's I don't remember the YouTube channel, but there was a guy, might have been Click Spring or something. It was like a machinist channel, and they did a lighter build out of a 50 cal bullet, and it was pretty cool.
No, Sean or John, the 9mm Flowbart is actually a rimfire shotgun round. It's one of my favorite rounds there are in this entire world, is a 9mm Flowbart. But it is very hard to find in the United States, so I don't shoot it a whole lot here, because it's very hard to find here. And now importation of it is even harder.
And my favorite round is a hunting round. It's a 284 Jazz.
Yeah, but I mean, we're talking wildcat there.
7mm.
Do you think a punt? I don't know what a punt gun is.
Oh, that's they used to use those for duck hunting, I'm pretty sure. Though they're like giant guns that they used to mount to boats. And it was pretty much just a big old shotgun that they used to use for commercial bird hunting.
Oh, see, I don't know anything about that. I'm not a hunter at all.
Me neither, but it was a weird thing that I found one day. It was like a giant gun on a boat, and I'm like, what is that? And I guess at one point they did commercial duck hunting or something like that, and I'm pretty sure that's what that one is.
I have no idea. That's like completely above and beyond my knowledge and scope of things.
It was something they did here too, so.
Oh. Well, they've got that big bird reserve up by you, Ryan, don't they?
We've got a few bird reserves around by us, yeah. I don't know that we got any monster one around here, but we got several. I mean, they can't hunt in certain areas, and they can hunt in certain areas. But I've never got into that. I don't need another hobby. Coyote hunting is enough for me. Prairie dog hunting is enough for me, PRS, and now ELR, and trying to get into the team stuff. I think I'm pretty well busy on top of work, and family.
And then also
golf.
And John says you're a jazz hand too.
Right? Yep. That's he would love to shoot that jazz though. It's a dream to shoot. You will never ask anything more out of any other round. Good elk gun, good all around, just fun. The only problem is about 800 rounds, I'm going to be putting a new barrel on that thing, and that build was a friend of mine's build, and he had to move out of the area. And my son calls me one day and says, "Hey, Dad, are you expecting some work to be dropped off?" I'm like, "No, I ain't expecting nothing to be dropped off." Why? He goes, "Some guy was here and said Merry Christmas and dropped off a gun." And I said, "What?" And I said, "I'll come home, figure out what's going on." So I swung home, and my buddy had left me his brand new build that he had never even got to shoot yet. To this day, still has not shot his own build. It had gotten finished, and he had to leave the state and go back home to do some stuff. So it was my Christmas gift.
Nice.
That worked out.
But there is a revolver in 50 BMG, David Wilcott.
Jeez. That's crazy.
Yep. But all right, well, we're going to close it out. So go around the room, go around the corner, around the circle, however we want to do it. And piece of advice, and we're going to close it out. Whoever goes first goes first.
Shoot for fun, take friends, enjoy the day.
I would say get out to that match. If you're thinking about a match around the corner, just do it. Just take the plunge, and I guarantee you'll have some fun and you'll learn a lot of things. It'll be stressful because I know my first match was, but that's the best way to get into these things.
If you're in the North Dakota area, you can look me up and I will help you find a match and get into a match. If you're not in the North Dakota area, I can help you find one in Minnesota, South Dakota, Wyoming, the surrounding areas.
And same with the Southeast. I know just about everybody there. So what's up, Alex? You got here as we're closing. So, but be kind to your neighbors and don't do anything to your neighbors that you don't want to do to yourself. See you guys next time. Thanks. Bye.